Good evening and thanks for joining us. Lots of developments to get to on this Wednesday, from new financial support for Canadians to Ontario's plan to send SWAT teams into long-term care homes hit by outbreaks. And the world has reached another alarming milestone in this pandemic. The number of confirmed cases worldwide has now surpassed 2 million. And here in Canada, more than 1,000 people are now known to have died from COVID-19. And more than 28,000 people have been infected. Here's a snapshot of where things stand today. More than 1,300 new cases were reported across the country. Quebec and Ontario are still seeing the biggest spikes. Some provinces, though, have no new cases reported. And Canada's public health officer says there's reason for cautious optimism.
In late March, when the growth rate was the fastest, we saw case numbers doubling every 3 days. But in recent days, we've observed a doubling time of over 10 days. This means the epidemic is slowing down.
With early signs the curve may be flattening, there's talk in some provinces about how to begin easing some restrictions. In Quebec, some businesses like auto mechanic shops and garden centres were allowed to reopen today. Quebec's premier says he's working on guidelines to allow more small businesses to reopen soon. Saskatchewan is also working on a plan. It's seen a slowdown in new cases, and Premier Scott Moe says if that continues, some businesses will be allowed to slowly reopen, but life won't be fully back to normal anytime soon.
Travel, large gatherings, and our seniors' care homes. We know those are 3 very high-risk areas, and we will not be removing those restrictions in the foreseeable future.
A similar plan is being worked on in British Columbia. Premier John Horgan extended that province's state of emergency today, but he says progress has been made in slowing the spread there, and talks are underway to start easing restrictions, including potentially restarting classroom education in the not-too-distant future.
I look at my colleagues across the country who set arbitrary dates for a return before the data was in, before the science was confirming that, and we're not going to follow that lead. We're going to look at the numbers as they emerge over the weeks ahead before we make those determinations.
In Nova Scotia, where 32 new cases were reported today, officials say they're still weeks away from any talk of reopening.
Let me be clear, we're not there. So before anyone communicates to Nova Scotians that we're not going to open up in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we're not there. We need Nova Scotians to stay committed to following the public health orders.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is talking with the premiers about all of this. There are many regional differences, and he's warned Canadians it's going to be a long, slow process. And right now, we can't give up keeping physically distant and slowing the spread.
It seems like over the past days, people are talking about, oh, when we reopen this, we'll do this, we'll reopen that. It's not happening yet. If we reopen too soon, everything we're doing now might be for nothing. We are making sacrifices. We're there for each other. We need to hold on. Still.
There is still a crisis unfolding inside long-term care homes, where at least half the deaths from COVID-19 have happened. Ontario's premier says SWAT teams of healthcare workers will be sent to homes overwhelmed by outbreaks. Quebec's premier has appealed to doctors and nurses for help. And today, Prime Minister Trudeau says he will talk to the premiers about boosting the wages of long-term care workers.
As we face an unprecedented threat to public health, you are our most important line of defense. We will do whatever we can to help you do your job and support you through this time.
And as Ross Lord reports, lawyers say families with loved ones in long-term care are reaching out to them looking for help, some asking how they can sue the homes.
At this nursing home in Toronto, more than 20 residents have died from COVID-19. The higher the death toll at care homes rises in Canada, the more families fear victims like 89-year-old Phyllis Thompson will be forgotten.
I didn't want her to just to be a statistic that there's another one.
British Columbia and Alberta already limited staff to working at just one care home at a time. Now Ontario's followed suit. The province promises an immediate influx of personal protective equipment and a SWAT team-style shift of staff from hospitals to nursing homes.
That's being rolled out as we speak over the next 24 to 48 hours. It's already happening regionally in some areas. We're going to make sure that that happens across the board.
In Quebec, the government is pleading with doctors to come and support nursing home staff. The Premier has already suggested soldiers might be required. He now promises to investigate a double standard surrounding criminal background checks. This after 2 newspapers reported on the past criminal record of the president and co-owner of a home where more than 30 people have died in the past month. His family says he was pardoned.
I've asked my people to check how come we have some background checks for employees, but not for owners taking care of elderly. So I was surprised to hear that.
The gaps in long-term care exposed by the virus become more tragic by the day, and they become more frightening, especially in provinces like Nova Scotia, which has the highest proportion of seniors in Canada.
If you put a system that's already struggling, already understaffed, already underfunded, and then say, could you do some more because we've got this struggle in front of us? Well, our staff only have so much to give, and they're giving it.
There are growing questions about safety culture. Ontario has reportedly made deep cuts to full inspections, and a union that represents nursing home staff says operators get advance notice of inspectors' arrival so they can give the appearance homes are in better shape than they actually are. Now, class action lawyers say families are contacting them about suing long-term care homes, ensuring this tragic episode will go on in various ways for a long time. Ross Lord, Global News, Halifax.
The new series that goes inside the COVID-19 pandemic, from the front lines to the everyday heroes helping us cope with the unprecedented change. Coronavirus, the new reality. A Global News special, Sundays at 7 on Global.